Sechta Bava basra daf kuf samach vav amid halach. We're starting from kuf samach hey amid beis, from where it says the Gemara. Tanu Rabbanim Yelent Omar. If in the shtar was written that Reuben borrowed Shimon kesef without saying an amount, ein pas midin kesef, then the amount is not less than a dinar of kesef. If it was written kesef dinarim, if in the shtar was written that Reuben lent Shimon kesef dinarim or v'dinarim kesef, ein pas mishnei dinarim kesef. We'll say it doesn't. It means not less than 2 dinarim of kesef, since it says dinarim in Lashon Rabin. Amir Rabin is 2. That's why it's automatically 2 dinarim of kesef. Kesef dinarim. If it was written kesef in dinarim, then ein pachas mishnei mi b'shnei dinarim dahav kesef. Then the pshat is kesef dinarim means that the amount that the Levi borrowed is not less than silver in the worth of 2 denarim of zahav. Omamar, the Tana said kesef because it says bidinarim, kesef in denarim of gold. The amount of kesef in denarim of gold. The word bidinarim makes it into a different category, dinarim of gold. Amamar, the Tana said if the shtar was written kesef without an amount, ain't pas medina kesef, then it's not less than a dinner kesef. In fact, you want to be nazba. Say it means a piece of kesef which is less than a dinar. Amar Abelazar, kasvei matbeya. In the shtar was written the word matbeya. In fact, you want to be priti. Perhaps the kavanah was prutis, which is a very small matbeya. It's in a place where they didn't have prutis, such small matbeyas of kesef. If in the shtar was written that the Reuben borrowed from Shimon dahav gold without sending an amount, ein pas medin b'dahav, then it's not less than a golden dinar. Dahav dinarim or dinarim b'dahav. If in the shtar was written gold in dinarim or dinarim in gold without saying an amount, ein pas mishnei dinarim dahav. It's not less than 2 dinarim of gold, because dinarim is a lashon rabin, miyut rabin is 2. The ha b'dinarim ein pachas mebishnei dinarim kes dahav. When he said gold in dinarim, he meant gold in the worth of 2 dinari of kesef. Omamar. In the Bryce was written, if in the shtar was written dahav, gold, ein pachas medina dahav. It's not going to be less than a dinar of gold. In fact, you want to say that it's a small piece of gold which is less than a dinar. I'm going to have less than the cost matbeya. That in the shtar was written the coin matbeya. In fact, you want to priti, say that it means prutis, a much smaller matbeya. And when you want to priti the dava, prutis, such small matbeyas of zav, lo yav the inchi, people do not produce in any place that small of a coin in gold. Therefore, you cannot say we're talking about prut shel zav. In the hemshch of the Braisa, we learn zav b'dinar in zav in dinar ein pas mishnei dinar in kesef zav. We said that it means when it's gold. When he said gold in dinar, he meant gold in the amount of 2 dinare kesef. In fact, the mother of dava pricha bitrei dinare dava kama. Say the kavanah means gold in dinar means gold in the amount of 2 golden dinar. Who says 2 silver? Because the Baal Hashtar has the lower hand, and therefore we're going to say it refers to dinari kesef. In fact, the Gemara, when we said kesef in dinarim, we said silver in the amount of 2 dinarim of kesef. That's much more. So l'cheira, if the yad bal hashtar is al tachtena, so Reish Nami, in this case, we should have said the same thing. It should be al tachtena. It should be in kesef. Amar Abashi, that when it says in the Reisha kesef b'dinarim, it should mean kesef in the amount of 2 dinari kesef, not 2 dinari of gold, which if we hold with the concept, the one who's holding onto the star, he's ala tachtona, he gets less, he gets the lower hand, that it should be silver. Avashi answered, Reisha, in the Reisha, where it's written the cost of dinarei Dinrei implies dinrei zav. Seifa, in the case of the seifa, the cost dinarin, it's written dinarin, that implies kesef, silver. But when do we know that there's a difference between the lashon dinrei to dinar, and that dinrei implies gold and dinar means silver? Says the Gemara the Tanan, that's the Gersa, that's not the Tanya but the Tanan. The woman who had a suffix of 5 births, each one came out and it was a miscarriage, and we weren't sure if there was a vital sac or not, if there was a baby in the sac or not. So it was 5 svekes. Or suffix chamish zives. Zives is 3 consecutive days of seeing blood. Where there you have to bring, whether, and the same thing by Leda, you have to bring 2 ephes, one a chatz, one a ayla, and the same thing as chamish zives. But it's a suffix if she saw 5 different times of zives, and a ziva is 3 consecutive days, but she wasn't sure if it was 3 consecutive days or not. So there, the Gemara says, the Mishnah says, side by the suffix of the 5 ladies, that it's a suffix if any of them had something in the sack, a baby in the sack, or the suffix of chamish zivais. It's a suffix in all these zivais, whether it was 3 consecutive days or not. Mevia kab mechad. She only brings 1 pair of eifis, 1 for ayla, 1 for chatas, and then she becomes mutter by chelos bezvachim that she can eat kachim. And the Mishnah says there, because even to bring 1 chatas based on the suffix is a suffix it should be brought, because any chatzah that's brought misafik, the kahanim cannot eat it because there's a suffix is nevela. Because it could be it's a nevela, and what do we do with it? We have to bury it. So we're not fond of that either. So we allowed only 1 carbon. But the rest of the 4 other zugis, for the 4 other times of suffix chamish leides, or the 4 other times of the suffix zivais, you don't have to bring carbon. But what if there were 5 leides vadoyes, and each one was a full leida, there was no suffix, or 5 different zivais that each one was not a suffix, it was 3 consecutive days. She brings 1 carbon, 1 pair of eifes, 1 ayla, 1 achatas, and she becomes toiv echelos bezvachim, and she gets to eat kachim. Ashar ala chayva, and the rest is also a chayv. Says Gemara Ma'isa, there was a story that that the sales, the price of these pair of birds were dinrei zahav. That means it was for every for every pair, it was a din zahav. Rab Shimon Gamliel then said, I swear by the Beis Hamikdash, im alma laila, that I will not go to sleep at night, ad b'dinarin, till it will be worth dinarin of kesef, and not gold. Nichnas lebezdin. He entered the bezdin, and he taught, a woman who had 5 vadei births, oy chomish, she was vadei, so 5 sightings of vadei sightings of 3 consecutive days of blood. Mavia kab mechad brings 1 pair, one is a chatz, to echelos bezvachim, and gets to eat the kachim. And he says the rest is not a chayv. You only have to bring 1 carbon, and that's it. So now, there wasn't such a demand for the pairs of birds. And because of that, the pair of birds fell to a quarter of a dinar of kesef. So you see from here, when it says dinrei is referring to zav, like you saw the lashon of Rab Shimon Gamliel, that he swore that it's not going to remain to dinrei zav, and he says he's not going to go to sleep. He's not going to go to sleep till it becomes dinarin, silver, which implies silver. We learned in the Mishnah Kasmela, if on the top of the shtar was written $100, on the bottom was written Masayim, or the reverse, on the top was written 200, on the bottom was written mana, we go according to the last line. So the Mishnah is, so why do we have to have the upper part of the star? And the Mishnah answered, because if there was missing a ace from the bottom, you can learn from the Elyon, from the upper one. The bottom is just a chazara. We say we learn the bottom from the upper one only if it's missing one letter on the bottom. Not if it's missing two aces. For instance, you have the name Chanan was written on the bottom and the top was Chanani, then we say the real name is Chanani, and if a person Chanani comes, yes, he's the Malva. Or the same thing, it was written on the bottom of the star Anan, and on the top was written Anani, so we say the real name is Anani. Why, if it's two letters that are missing, you say no? So if you want to do Musame, because maybe it can happen, Shane Ben Abba Oisius, a name that has four Oisius, so if you're going to be missing two Oisius, it's going to be missing a half of the name, and it's not the derech of a sefer to be missing a half of a name. If so, even by one ace, Dilma Misame Shein Bein Shtei Aces, by one ace, you could have the same problem. At times, it could be a name that consists only of two letters, and if it's missing one letter, you have half the name, and you said it's not the derech of the sefer to write, to be missing half a name. Allah says, you're right. The reason why, if it's missing two aces, we're going to say that he retracted from the name. So this is the reason. Because it could have happened that there will be a name of three letters that consists of three letters, and that most of the name is going to be missing if they're missing two aces. Versus if a name consists of two aces, you're not going to be missing most of the name, only one letter. Papa said, Pshita li, it's simple to me. Save them in from the top of the star was written a bucket or a big cup. The kefal milamata, and on the bottom was written kefal, which means talus. We go according to the bottom of the star. Papa asked the shaila. How about kefal milamata? The word kefal was written on the top. Kefal means a talus. V'seifel milamata, and seifel was written on the bottom of the star, which means a big cup or a bucket. What's going to be the din? Are we concerned maybe a fly came and took the vav of the kluf and turned it into a samach? Oilai or not? Teiku. It's tishbi yitaretz kushel bayis. Ahuda haba kasbei shis me'oz bezuzah. There was a star that was written 600 and a zuz, but it didn't say what the 600 was. Shol Rav Shavya becoming Abaya. Rav Shavya sent the Shilam about the star to Abaya. Is the Kavanah Shis Mi'ah Istre Bezuzah? Is the Pshat 600 slayim? Now a seller is 4 zuz. 600 times 4 would mean 2,400 zuz and a zuz. Or perhaps Shis Mi'ah Prita Bezuzah. Maybe he meant 600 prutis and a zuzah. Amalei. So Abai answered to Rav Shavya, Dal Priti. You have to remove prutis. Why? Like a person doesn't write such a big amount of prutis in a shtar. When it comes to prutis, they sum it up or they total it up into zuzu, mashle zuzi, and they make it into zuzim because it's 192 prutis per zuz. So it would come out to like 3 or 4 zuz. So then if it's not, it cannot mean prutis, what are you saying? Shis me'ah is still a zuzah. Doesn't mean when it says 600 it means slayim, because we couldn't say it means prutis. So because such amount of prutis, you would sum it up into zuzim. Says Gemara, no, maybe it means shis me'ah zuzi v'chad zuzah. Maybe it means 600 zuz and 1 zuz. That's probably the pshat, because yad bal ashtar ala tachteina. So from this suffix, we say the kavanah of the star, whether it meant, when he said 600, we didn't know if it meant zuzim or slayim, because certainly not prutis. We're going to say it means zuzim, the low amount, because yad bal ashtar ala tachtoina.